This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the ACABOR meeting of Thursday, October 15th. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll start with the pledge. Shirley has the flag for us. And Shirley, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, just as we start, a few ground rules. As we're all remote here, as we get through and start going through the applicants, we will mute everybody except for the applicants themselves and their representatives. We will then go through and ask questions of the applicant. Each board member will have an opportunity to ask any questions. And then we will go to public comment. At that point, if you have questions, it would be wonderful if you were to put them in the chat. However, if not, we will unmute folks and let people, ask questions directly at that point. That's basically the ground rules. Let's do a quick roll call attendance. Chris Dunnigan here. Shirley?
Here.
Debbie?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Karen?
Here.
And Kenyatta?
Here.
And Joe is absent currently. If he comes in, we'll announce him. Our first applicant for the night, Fitzsimmons subdivision plan. I think we've got Frank Phillips and Olga Fitzsimmons here to speak on that.
Present.
Go ahead.
Frank Phillips from the law offices of Phillips and Millman on behalf of the applicants, Orla and Stephen Fitzsimmons. Also present, who's muted right now, should be unmuted soon, is John Perkins, who's the architect on the project, who just unmuted himself. This is just as a matter of quick background, that this is a 2-lot subdivision at 315 Blauvelt Road in Pearl River. We have been before the planning board initially in May of 2019 and subsequently at a workshop meeting, and we've received the preliminary subdivision approval on July 31st, 2019, after addressing the major issues, which were grading, perk test, and the width of the driveway and location. Subsequent to receiving preliminary approval, we did go to the zoning board of appeals and did receive a variance for the street frontage variance for lot number 2 on December 4th of 2019. And then we are back here before your board for a review of the 2-lot subdivision plan prior to going back to the planning board to seek final approval. One thing that I thought initially is that we were going to also have the besides the subdivision plan, the house and site plan also reviewed. I understand that it can't be stamped by ACABOR until the subdivision plat's been filed at the county clerk's office. But I thought at this particular meeting that we were also going to do the house and site plan. We're ready to proceed with the subdivision plan, but maybe I would, that was misconstrued.
Okay, so you guys are going to come back for the dwelling and everything else, correct? This is just a
Unless we could do it now. What does Cheryl say?
So I think based on what I've got, and Cheryl, you can keep me honest, we're just looking at the subdivision plan this evening. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's just up for subdivision this evening. A building permit still has to be filed for the building and the site plan. The building inspector needs to review that, and then it gets referred to the ACABOR for the house and the site plan.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we don't want to put the cart before the horse. We're just here presently for the subdivision plan. Any questions you have related to the plan itself? Mr. Perkins, who's now unmuted, will be able to handle those particular questions as the architect on the project.
Okay, so to start us off, Mr. Perkins, why don't you give us kind of an overview of what the subdivision is, what you guys are doing, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for hearing us. I do have the drawings on the computer. If you would grant me screen access, I could actually print those.
You should have that now.
All right. All right. So presently, we are proposing a 2-lot subdivision. And I'll just start with the actual site plan itself so that you can kind of see what we are doing here. It's off of Blauvelt Road. The present subdivision or the present lot is a larger subdivision off of Blauvelt Road. What we intend to do is divide the lot in half, front to back. The present house is a single-story existing wood frame dwelling. At the front, we intend to grant access on the right-hand side of that house for a new proposed 3-bedroom dwelling, which is about 1,900 square feet at the rear with a detached garage. So what you can kind of see at the back is the driveway entering, the actual proposed dwelling itself, and the detached garage at the rear. Now, the dwelling itself is 1.5 stories. It's a main floor with a basement, and the garage is a detached garage, 1-story gable. And I will present both of those to give you a better understanding of what those look like. The actual house itself is, again, single-story. This is what the house presently looks like as we propose. Again, we're not going before the board for approval for the dwelling presently, but hope to do that at some point in the near future after we apply for building permit. So this being front elevation at the driveway side, this being right or the rear opposite Blauvelt Road, and this being the left-hand side as you're facing the lots presently, which would be the back of the house. And obviously, this is facing Blauvelt Road. Just to give you a brief synopsis of what the floor plan looks like. Again, it's a single story. What they propose to do is 3 bedrooms. And as you kind of orient the plans right side forward, you will be able to see, if my zoom would work, you can see the entry at the front porch with a foyer, entry foyer, small study on the right-hand side, great room at the back, kitchen at the rear, master bedroom, 2 secondary bedrooms at the front. So that is the main dwelling. And again, full basement below. What we intend to do with the detached garage, I will show you, is 2 garage doors facing the driveway, gable roof, again, single story with man doors on the side. And that is pretty much the proposed structures.
Okay. Can we flip back to the site plan for a second, please?
Sure.
So my question when I first saw this is, I know the house that was recently done to, I'm going to say my bottom right, has a line of screening on the back where your driveway is going to be, and it looks like you're picking that screening up in front of the new house to shield it from the existing dwelling that's there, again, around the corner. Are you also going to provide any screening or buffer between lot 1 and lot 2, where lot 1's back porch, backyard is going to be looking right at this new dwelling?
They don't have anything represented, but I'm sure they wouldn't be opposed to it.
All right. Let's see what the rest of the board thinks. Okay. Let's open it up to the board. Shirley, any questions for the applicant? You're still on mute. There we go.
Got it. I don't have any questions at this time.
All right. Debbie, any questions?
No, no questions.
Brian, any questions?
Well, I'm gonna make comments. I mean,
Of course.
following up on your comment about the screening between the two houses. That,
Yeah, of course.
you know,
Go ahead.
I think these walls of green that completely cut off, you know, I don't know that I would think that would make sense between the houses. Obviously, they could do whatever they want, but, you know, creating little boxes completely covered in, you know, I'd see more screening to break up the view and yet still keep the whole property kind of flowing.
Mhm.
And the, I don't know, there's a lot of asphalt in front of the house itself. But I'm not sure there's a way around that. That probably would be my comments.
So you're thinking almost not the gigantic Abervardy wall, but something, if anything, a little lower that gives some continuity to the two lots?
Or a variety, you know, something that's some bigger trees, specimen trees, and some lower ground cover and some openings between it.
Yep, that makes sense. Sharon, any questions or comments?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
And Kenyatta, any questions or comments?
Not at this time.
All right. Let's open it up for public comment. I'm gonna find the button to unmute everybody. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this application? I tried to unmute. You may need to unmute yourself. Seeing none, hearing none, public portion is closed. So I think, you know, the only thing that I think I would say, and I think Brian makes a good point, is, you know, consider when you guys come back with your plans, you know, how you may choose or choose not to, if it's up to you, to break up that line, whether it's you know, a nice fence or some type of landscaping there to break that proposed line. I don't think we need to address it here. I do tend to agree that, particularly in this area, there's already a lot of those large boxy trees. So I think Brian made a good point there.
Another point related to that, the massive asphalt, and the asphalt is going right up to the face of the house. There's no plantings, nothing to soften the face of this house. Very commercial looking. And I think there ought to be some attempt to put some kind of bed planting in front of the house. It's tight on the site, but, you know, if you had, I don't know, 3 to 4 feet strip across there with planting, pulling the asphalt away.
Okay, we'll take that in.
I'm just gonna mute everybody here. If you need to speak, please just unmute yourself. So, Mr. Perkins, you think you were saying something there?
Said we will take that into consideration when we present for the building itself.
Does that need to be reflected? Brian's suggestion, which I think is a good one, around softening the front of this house, does that need to present it on the site plan? Because currently, right now, that's showing us that's going to be asphalt there. So that would have to be edited here, correct?
We will make those adjustments to the site plan.
Okay,
Yeah, we could make those adjustments prior to going in for the final approval before the planning board.
And I think what you're seeing there are contour intervals, these lines here. I don't know
Yep.
that this is actually represented as driveway. I believe this line that you're seeing, that I'm kind of following
Right.
with the cursor, that is actually the driveway here. This line and this line are actually contour intervals.
correct,
So
but that, the
yeah,
following the line curve that you just had there brings, as Brian mentioned, that driveway directly to the front of that house, across the face of the house to the garage corner, correct?
yes, right through here, yep.
I mean, it's a challenge because, you know, it's a narrow property. You've got your garage, you need to come into it with your driveway as wide as you got it at the garage. It's kind of like you need to slide the house 3 feet away from the asphalt. I don't know if you can pull the asphalt back, you know, you got to juggle it to figure out how you get the 3 to 4 feet there so that, you know.
Right.
I
Well,
mean, you probably can curve it, pull it away, you know, and then sweep it out where the garage is. It makes it a little more awkward to get out of the garage. Anyway, you're really pulling the asphalt straight to the face all along the face of the house is, I think it's really commercial looking, like a
I
7-Eleven.
agree. I don't know that that was the intention of the owners. Stephen and Orla might actually, express their interest in it. But I kind of, I understand at this portion of the house, the necessity of having asphalt closer to the house. But on the left-hand side, I don't feel it is as critical to have it directly up to the house. And I just kind of think it might have been embellished by the engineer to do that.
Yeah, it might have been. Another thought could be that you could think about, I'm not, because it's all orthogonal house to garage, to rotate the garage slightly, kind of make it a little, you know, it would kind of break up the rigid formality of the house and the court there and allow the cars to approach the garage a little more easily. You know, it just maybe a minor bit of a turn, maybe in the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thought.
It kind of complicates the dimension of fire separation with the 15 feet. If we were to askew it a little bit, it would sacrifice the size of the garage because the setback line is kind of what designates the orthogonal geometry.
Right. What is the 15-foot separation with regards to the?
That's fire separation between the main house and the detached garage.
Yeah, why is that? Is there some reason that has to have a separation like that?
I believe that's code. That's part of the zoning ordinance.
Is
And
that
I
a
believe
local code? I don't think that's state code. I mean,
no, I mean zoning code.
zoning
Zoning.
code.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. So detached garages have to have a minimum separation. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I guess you guys probably don't want to come back and ask for a continuance. So I'm wondering if we can approve this with giving you guys the option to amend the site plan to provide some buffer on the front of the house from the asphalt. So and then also the option to add a appropriate buffer between on the proposed lot line between the new lot and the old lots, the two new lots actually. Is anybody on the board have an objection to going that route? No. Okay.
Nope.
All right. So
Okay.
anything else that you guys want to present before we move to vote?
No, thank you.
I think we've presented everything.
Perfect. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the plan with options of moving the asphalt driveway away from the house to provide some vegetative buffer there, and also the option to provide a break between the two lots?
I'll make a motion to approve with those criteria.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Shirley's our second. Roll call vote, myself, yes. Shirley,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Kenyatta.
Yes.
All right, you guys are all set. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we have Tom's floor sign, and I believe we have Mrs. Foley with us this evening.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can?
Okay. Yes, this is Robin from Foley Signs representing Tom's Floors for a proposed reface of a sign. What Tom's like to do is to put his floor, his logo on the sign. It's an existing single pole structure, double-sided, and he'd like to put his logo with some specifics of what he does. He's going to have a showroom in this industrial park, and basically utilize the existing structure.
Okay. Shirley, any questions or comments?
No questions at this time.
Debbie, any questions or comments?
I do. Robin, are these, the post that the sign is on, is this what is this made of?
It's a steel post, round steel post. It's been there a very long time.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, it does. It would be a good idea for him to paint the post.
At least.
Yeah.
It's almost like wearing a gown and sneakers. You got a brand new sign and you've got your old Keds on here. So I don't know. I'm not liking it because of that. My suggestion would be to do something about the post. Bring it in line with the brand new sign.
To do some kind of a casing.
Well, you know, Robin, I don't know what the cost factor is. I mean, first of all, I think one post right down the center in and of itself looks kind of chintzy. I would rather see one on each corner. And
I hear you. It's certainly an option. I don't think Tom's Floors, Robert is his name. I don't think Tom's intention is to build a whole new pylon structure. I think Tom was very happy that he was able to utilize the existing structure for the costs, and taking out that single post and putting in 2 additional posts would really escalate the cost of this project.
okay, but my concern isn't really his cost. My concern is what it looks like. So that's what I'm going to stick with, not his budget. So
I'll let him know.
I understand what you're saying, Robin, but that's not my concern, nor is it my job. So I'm going to just stick with, I don't like this post. If he doesn't, I said I would prefer the 2, but if that's a matter of something, but I just going to stay with it. Something's got to be done with that. If it's paint or casing or whatever, but it doesn't look like it fits together. That's all.
Thank you, Debbie. Brian, any questions, comments?
Yeah, well, obviously the post needs to be painted at a very minimum, but I have objection to the paragraph of services that sit underneath. There's just way too much text on this sign. And you know, the photograph, to me, signs, it tries to be something else when it's got a photograph. Now, I mean, how much we can pressure that, but all of this writing on the sign, to me, I would like to see a little distillation of it. So it's just a little bit simpler. I mean, people can contact him to find out about all the services he provides, but to stick it up on the sign like this, I don't know, it looks like some temporary placard somebody stuck up to me. That's, I think
I will
it-
give that to Robert. I am always dealing with what the customer wants initially, what he wants to say, and sometimes people want to say too much, but I will discuss that with Robert and see how we can edit the copy to be more concise.
Mhm. That's my comments.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Sharon, any comments, questions?
So I agree with both Debbie and Brian. I agree that the post that it's on looks very awkward and doesn't flow well from the sign. And I also agree as well that there's too much type on this sign. It's going to make everything harder to see. That's it.
All right. Kenyatta, any comments or questions?
I will agree with everyone on the post. That area is, you know, it's like a pass-through area. I don't have a problem with the text on it.
Okay. Anything else? Are you good? So Robin, I agree with everything everybody said, and I would add one thing which is, if you look at the pictures where it's at a better distance, Brian's point about the photo makes a lot of sense with the text, where you can't really see when you're driving that white text very well at all, right? You know, unless you're at the train and stop there, you're not going to be able to pick that up. So I might, you know, go back and suggest that as well. And I will ask, you know, looking at the bottom left picture, you know, there is a 2-post sign there. Is that something that he does, that the applicant doesn't have access to use? I assume that's somebody else's, or kind of.
Well,
Debbie.
that I believe belongs to the small building, that small structure that's right at the entrance. I didn't really explore. This is what Robert said that his landlord was allowing him to use on the property, so I just went that far with it. I do know that that sign has been used for that small building a number of times.
Okay.
So he's not there in that building. He's set back into the space.
Okay.
So it might not be clear where exactly he's located, or that he's not located there. I could find out, but I don't think so.
Okay. No, I figured I would just ask. You know, so I think you know, the comments here, I think we're all in agreement. We definitely need a render with that defense post painted, or however we choose to make it look, or you and the applicant choose to make it look nice, and some, you know, review of the sign content would be good, both in terms of the amount of content and, you know, in my opinion, just the coloring as it contrasts against the bottom of that picture, if that picture continued to make sense in the situation or not.
So
Chris,
Yeah, go ahead.
You're saying that that Tom's Floors is not like just right there. Would it make sense to do some sort of directional arrow instead of all this text to kind of like point where it is?
Yeah, I don't think I'd go there.
Okay.
I think that, because you just go in, there's a driveway straight in, and there are a couple of buildings, and I'm sure he'll probably have a sign on his building, which maybe we'll see or not. I just, following up on what you said, Chris, that when I'd said about the photograph makes it very hard to read a lot of that text, especially at a distance. And again, nobody, unless they're walking their dog and standing right in front of the sign, is going to be even able to understand what's in the photograph or appreciate it. It would be a much stronger sign, like other signs with a more solid background without that kind of detail, you know,
I agree.
all in all, would serve him much better.
Chris,
Go ahead, Deb.
So
I just want to interject one thing about the commentary regarding what's on the sign and what he chose to put on the sign. I'm going to be in disagreement with that. I don't think our job is really to censor what somebody puts on the sign. That's up to them as to what they want. It's their business. So if it is, I don't mean it's their business, but I mean it's their enterprise, it's their business. That's how they want to advertise it. If it is aesthetically disliking or distasteful, that's what's our role, not what someone puts on the sign. I think you're bordering on censorship. And I'm not going to go there.
I disagree. It's not censorship. We don't like it graphically. We don't like it visually. We think it's the sign doesn't look
what
good.
You said,
Nobody can
Brian.
read.
What I heard here was that it tells, you can't see it and it tells too much, and that's not the way you should advertise. That's how you started. And so I think it's up to him to decide what he decides to advertise and what the public can see and not see. The sign itself is not offensive in any way. It's not written ugly. It may be small for people to read, but that's his business and that's what he wants to advertise.
Well,
Does it?
that's your opinion. That you think
I-
it is ugly. The rest of us think it is. So
Okay, Brian.
commented-
That's all I was giving was my opinion. I wasn't pointing the finger to you either. I just said I'm not going to be in agreement with that.
Robin, I think you were trying to say something.
Yeah, so I have a comment that I believe is relevant. You know, this is my customer, so I have talked to him about what he's trying to represent on not just this marketing, other stuff. What's important to Robert is the epoxy and concrete flooring, which deviates from his name. His name is Tom's Floors, and it's been a wood finishing and wood flooring installation company. But one of the main purposes of this showroom is for him to display this new aspect of his business, which is the concrete flooring. So while we don't want to eliminate the hardwood floors, we don't want to eliminate, because that's really is primarily what he's done. It's also important to him to be promoting these epoxy floors and this space that he is taking on in order to have samples of these floorings. And it has been, I always try to hone copy down. I hate to put too much copy, but I do also know the balance between telling a customer what he should or shouldn't say when it's the marketing of his business. And the epoxy and concrete flooring is something that Robert has been blasting on his vehicles and making brochures. And if I tell him that you don't want to put that copy on there, or we can't just put that, because it's not specifically what he does. So anyway, the reason why there's a lot of copy is because the customer would like to represent himself this way.
So I think what the concern is, and whatever, I understand, I get that makes sense, that they've got a new part of the business, they want to get people aware of it. That's 100% fair, and I would do the same thing. I think my, at least, point here is the way it's currently placed and presented makes it hard for that message to get across on the background of that sign and the way it's laid out. So my suggestion would be that we look, or the applicant looks at different ways to make that information a little bit more visible and stand out so people can actually see it. Because the way that is now, when you drive by it at, whatever mile per hour you're doing at that point, I think you're going to have a difficulty seeing that. So I get, and of course, put whatever he wants on the sign. I just think from an aesthetics point of view, it looks blobbish the way it is. And I would just recommend and suggest we go back and say, is there a different way to present this where it's pops out so people can see that message a little bit better? That's my thought, particularly with the colors, the way they go, and the things in the background. And again, I think we're going to have to go back and paint the pole anyway. So,
not to beat a dead horse here, but the layout, one of the layout problems that we have here is that there's an existing format of loosely a square, a little bit less than a square. And Tom's Floors logo, which has always been represented that way, which is very horizontally oriented, which leaves me with a lot of space. Also, I could start changing his logo for the sign. Again, I'm not sure that Robert's going to be extremely happy about that. But because this is a reface of an existing sign, I didn't have the luxury of formatting it to exactly how it would suit his logo to maximize. I mean, I'd love to maximize the logo itself as a sign so that that gets blasted, but of course we're not able to do that in this more square format. So it's another reason why then I end up with space. You know, of course I can adjust the size of the copy. It's also important to me in a layout to make sure that the logo is big and the secondary copy is not. You know, so those are just factors to be considered when I'm laying this out and the reasons why that this is done this way.
I have a suggestion, Chris.
Go ahead, Shirley. Yeah.
I would think that it's important to him to get all that, the 4 lines in there. So I wouldn't suggest anything about them, but they would be easier to read if there wasn't so much design behind them. I don't know if it's totally necessary to have that picture behind them. And I would also suggest as a possibility to reduce the amount of copy a driver has to read. Instead of saying serving New York and New Jersey since 1993, just say since 1993. Would eliminate a lot of writing.
It would, it's true. And there's definitely, we can definitely reorganize this. Taking out words of a single line doesn't change the fact that you have a line there, and I doesn't necessarily, because it's the height, because we're stacking everything. But there's no doubt that I can, to some degree, reorganize this copy to change that kind of secondary copy heavy element of this layout.
Chris?
Go ahead, Debbie. Yeah.
Again, I'm a little concerned about the board being involved in gauging the effectiveness of a business's sign. The effectiveness and what he derives from his business sign is really his call. It's not up to us to decide what's going to bring him business and what's not. And again, you know, the impact that it has on the public, that's his call. It's his business. I wouldn't want to be involved in, I wouldn't want someone telling me how to promote myself and how much verbiage I should put on my business sign. Again, I think we're encroaching on something that may not be in our jurisdiction. My opinion, Brian.
Understood. And for my, I made that comment simply because Robin mentioned he wanted to make sure that that got out, which is fair. And my point is, the way it looks to me, I see a bunch of letters at the bottom of that sign, right?
I don't disagree with you, Chris. I think
that's
it's a
where I'm
lot of
going.
verbiage. I do. I agree. But I don't think it's in our prudence to be doing that. That's not our role.
You know, also the effectiveness of a sign to me is to get their attention. And then once you have their attention, and remember, people will see this sign repeatedly. Once you have their attention, hopefully to be able to tell them maybe just a little bit more. And I guess that's the hopefully what this sign can do. They can see the Tom Floors exist here. And then as they see it again, this is a big sign. This sign is 60 inches high. This isn't, I don't know if it's being represented from, and it's a small space that you see it in. I'm hoping that they would get at some point the message of the more specific aspects of Tom Floors' business, and that it wouldn't be completely useless. And that's in defense of the layout the way that it is, which I believe Robert's going to want to maintain. And then just one further question for me is, as far as that pole, if we have to come back and represent this, is the painting of the pole sufficient? Because I'm going to have to deal with, it may not be you people's job to decide what costs are, but make no mistake, when a customer is standing at the counter and I'm telling him that you want to put 2 posts, he's not going to be happy about it. I'm trying to get a sign for this person, for this business.
Right.
What would be sufficient?
Well, aesthetically, I think the minimum would have to be, or should be, the painting of it, Robin. I mean, that's why I said before, preferably, I would like 2 posts, but I understand. But it shouldn't be wrapped around, it shouldn't come to us about the cost. If that's what you're presenting, then we have to try to make that better, if that's the best he could do. If we can make a suggestion, we don't know what cost is involved here, but we can make a suggestion, the least he could do is paint it. It's rusty.
Well, sure.
For me, the minimum is the paint, right? It's got to be painted.
So, right, so what I'm trying to find out is what would be the minimal exactly? What's the minimal that I would tell Robert that he would need to do in order to get this approved?
Paint the post.
Paint the post. Well, that's simple.
Anything else from anybody? Oh, hold on, let me open it up for the public. Let's do a quick unmute. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this application? You may need to unmute yourself. Hearing none, seeing none, public portion is closed. So Robin, do you want to request a continuance on this? To come back and present the...
You guys make the call. I would prefer to get it approved with contingencies if you think I need to, represent the drawing. But if you think I need to come back and make a whole new presentation, that's what I'll have to do.
I personally don't think that should be necessary. I mean, it's his business, his sign. I say paint the post and let's move on.
Shirley, what do you think? Do a little pull the board here.
I agree with Kenyatta. I think, he can have the sign the way he wants. We're trying to make it a little, using aesthetics, make it a little more readable for people, but he can have it any way he wants. At a minimum, he has to scrape that pole, apply some Rust-Oleum, and paint it.
Deb,
Yep.
you're good with just the paint aspect?
Yeah, I think I'd leave the literature alone on it. It's his business. And like I said, that was my only thing that I said was I thought the poll needed to be addressed. And I just commented later when we started going into what I feel is censorship.
Okay.
Good.
Brian, are you okay with the painting of the pole?
No, I disagree that I disagree with the sign.
Sharon?
I'm good with the painting and for him just to hear our feedback on the sign, but leave it up to him to make the decision.
Okay. Kenyatta, I think you were good with the painting. All right, so that's got a majority there. All right, so we have a motion to approve with the condition that hold on, before I ask that, Robin, what color paint are we thinking here?
I was thinking about that as you guys were discussing the painting. I think that white, it would have to be white to maximize the effect of it because it's so small. I don't make it black. It looks like there's a sign floating in air. I would just paint it white.
Okay, that's fine.
It goes with the writing. It brightens it up.
Right. It gives the pole itself a little more presence, which is certainly not a bad idea. I mean, he may be able to talk. See, he doesn't own this structure. It's the landlord's kind of letting him use it. So I know he's going to be like, he doesn't want to spend money on that. But, putting some kind of a casing on it would also dress it up just to something small, just something to give it a little more substance. He may say that that's a good idea and we may do it.
Okay. So I think we went with white. So do we have a motion to approve with the condition that the post and rusty metal is painted white, sanded down, cleaned up, and painted a fresh white?
Okay.
I pass the
I'll
motion.
approve that motion.
So I got Kenyatta presenting the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, roll call vote. Myself, yes. Shirley,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Brian,
No.
Sharon,
Yes.
and Kenyatta. You're on mute. Kenyatta, are you there?
I'm sorry, my kids are in the background. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Yes
All
or
right.
no? Yes or
Yes.
no? Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you, Robin. You're all
Okay.
set.
Well, good night.
Next up this evening is the Lander subdivision plan. Got, I believe, Tara Soprano and Bill Humphrey here.
Yeah, I'm Brenner. I'm the attorney for the project. I am here with the owner, Lander, and the contract purchaser, Helmke. I think if you look at the layout, it's primarily just, we're showing how the land is being subdivided. We will have to come back and when we detail the house to show the house. I think there were several things that the planning board requested, which I thought were worthwhile. They primarily, if you notice, have saved most of the major trees on the project. They moved the driveway slightly to the north, therefore the southern border is kept pretty much intact. And there are many large trees on the parcel and trees are being saved. The only thing that's also being shown, which was brought, is that the demarcation between the two lots, there is going to be some trees planted on the demarcation. Outside of that, I think it's a very fine layout. As I said before, we will have to reappear when the house is being selected.
All right. Shirley, any questions, comments?
None at this time.
Debbie, any questions, comments?
No, not at this time.
Brian, any questions, comments?
No.
Sharon, any questions, comments?
I am very happy that those trees are being saved. They're absolutely beautiful. The property is gorgeous right now.
And Kenyatta, any questions, comments?
Not at this time.
I don't have any either. Seems relatively simple. Open up for public comment. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this application? Please unmute yourself if you have a comment. Hearing none, seeing none, public portion is closed. I'll make a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second?
A second.
Is that you, Shirley?
Yes.
All right. And we'll do a roll call vote. Myself, yes. Shirley?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. You guys are all set? Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and everybody stay well.
You too, guys. All right. Up next, we have the Bergson Gluckstern site and landscaping plans. Who do we have presenting that?
Chris, I just want to let you know that this house is in the historic district and the historic board just reviewed the house. This board is stationed with reviewing the landscaping plan and the site plan only. The house plans were given to you just so that you can just get a flavor of what the house looks like. But that house has been reviewed already by the historic board.
Thank you. And who will be presenting?
It's me. My name is Walter Orell, and I'm the architect for the Bergson family. And as Cheryl just mentioned, we're here mainly to talk about the landscape plan, but the house itself is a new 6,100 square foot house for a young family. Mel Gluckstern and Brianne Bergson. The house is going to be highly energy efficient, and with this geothermal HVAC system, it's basically going to be a net zero house, zero energy construction. As Cheryl mentioned, we got planning board approval on Tuesday, and the landscape plan, which you have before you, it basically consists of the existing mixed deciduous trees and the surrounding undisturbed wetlands, and the introduction of just a few native trees and shrubs, and those are identified and located on the planning plan. If you look at number 12 on the landscape plan, it shows a large stormwater storage area, and that's designed to basically preserve the existing trees. There's not going to be standing water for just very short periods. And so the trees and the existing trees and woodland plants within that area will do fine, basically. We do have a new extension of an existing driveway. It shows as number 8 on the plan. And there's a turnaround that goes under a carport, and that's shows as number 10. That will have a planted roof, so it's really part of the landscape plan. Number 11 on the plan is it's an area of bluestone paving. It's planned for the east side of the house. There's a small landing on the west side that's also intended to be bluestone. And then finally, number 6, there's a small pool proposed and an area of lawn on the west side, on the basically the courtyard side of the house. So that's essentially it, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. Shirley, any questions or comments?
Not at this time. It's a lovely site. Took me a while to find it, but all went well. So, and it looks like it'll be a beautiful house.
Debbie, any questions, comments?
No, none at all. It's all great.
Brian, any questions, comments?
Nope.
Sharon, any questions, comments?
Nope.
And Kenyatta, any questions, comments?
Not at this time.
Nor do I. Like everybody said, it looks wonderful, and the house looks great. Let's open it up for public comment. Is there anybody wishing to speak on this application? If so, please unmute yourself. Hearing none, seeing none, public portion is closed. All right. Do we have a motion to approve as presented?
I'll approve as suggested.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Myself, yes. Shirley?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. You guys are all set.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Up next is Mainstream Consignment and Comedy Sign. Ms. Harris?
Yes, that's me. How are you?
Good. How are you doing this evening? Can you tell us a little bit about your
Good,
project?
good. What's that?
Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Oh, sure. Basically, it's just refacing the sign that's been there. It's existing. It's a light box, and I just wanted to have my sign with my business, which is a consignment and comedy shop.
Okay. Any lighting or
It's a light box.
The light box, okay. And my question just left my head. Anything surrounding the sign, any you know, framing or anything like that, or is it just standard light box?
It's a standard light box. It's framed. I submitted the picture. I don't know if you can see it there. It's functional. It works fine. I've already checked out the electricity with it and everything works fine. And I just wanted to switch out the facing.
Okay. All right. Shirley, any questions, comments?
I'm wondering about the hours the lighting will be lit.
Just until I'm out of there, probably around 8 p.m. I didn't really expect to put on any kind of a timer or anything like that. I just wanted to have it till about 8 p.m. I'm not going to be there late in the evenings, especially with the pending threat of COVID and also the cold weather. Probably wouldn't be too many people walking on the avenue or that section of the avenue near the post office, since that closes at 5 p.m. And currently I'm only there till 5 or 6 p.m. But if I do an evening where I extend it until 8 p.m., that would be it. I wouldn't have it lit all night. Just wouldn't be worth it for me to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Debbie, any questions, comments?
No,
Brian, any questions, comments?
Nope.
Sharon, any questions, comments?
Nope.
And Kenyatta, any questions, comments?
Yeah, actually, looking at it next to the other signs, it just felt like a little much to me. I think the red color just, I don't know, it didn't sit well with me when I sat there looking at it. I was thinking maybe something a little more complementary to the Fleming space, just so it didn't stand out so much. But if you guys all seem to think that it's okay, then I guess I'm the odd man out.
From my perspective, it's red. Red's never my favorite color, but it bothered me that much.
I did want something like that was a little brighter. The Fleming's is more of a rose red, and this is more of a slightly brighter red with the yellow star that I think complements the brown, that makes it stand out a little bit more rather than something. The previous sign was red, white, and blue. This is red, yellow, and white.
Anybody else concerned with the color aspect?
Ellen, frankly, I found the color to be very contrasting. I think the yellow star should absolutely be there, but yellow and red is just a little garish for the area. I have no suggestion for another color. I just find it a little hard to look at.
I think
Bonnie,
Yes.
Bonnie, does red color, is this red color coordinated with any other aspect of your business, like the design inside or the color scheme inside? I mean, is it possible to do another color other than red with the yellow? What about blue? I mean, blue is a color that is like the Pearl River color.
Right. Yeah, I do have red on the inside and some of the signs that I have inside for the comedy aspect of the business. And
My thought was actually to switch from the red and the black, like do the red as the main street stage in consignment and comedy, and do the black or something darker as the background, because then it would feel like it was more cohesive with the other signs in that strip.
okay. The only thing with the light box, the like black behind it, it wouldn't really show, and then the star and everything would be much smaller.
Yeah,
Is that-
Brian, this is Brian. To me, trying to tell them, we don't want you to do a red sign, that to me is pretty arbitrary.
Yeah.
I think actually the point of a sign is to stand out and be read easily. I think this sign reads easily and it stands out. And it doesn't
That's
look
why I
completely
went
out
with red,
of the building.
to be honest. That's why I went with red. And they, and the yellow star.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want it to blend into the building, coordinate. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. Thank you. I felt that way too. I mean, it's one of those things like with the previous caller saying about all the text and everything that they wanted on their sign. That's how they wanted to do their business. That's red has always been a, a dramatic color. And I just wanted to, have that reflect what I'm doing.
All right. Any other questions from the board before I open up to public? All right. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this application? If so, please unmute yourself. Hearing none, seeing none, public portion closed. Do we have a motion to approve this sign as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And do a roll call vote. Myself, yes. Shirley?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
No.
Thank you. All right, Bonnie, you're all set. You're good to go.
Okay. Thank you so much. Stay well, everyone.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, and our last application of the evening, Stop and Shop online pickup signs. Who do we have here to present?
Christina from Magnoli Sign Company. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. So Stop and Shop has an online pickup service at all 350 of their stores. And this little delivery and pickup sign, 18-inch by 24, is the sign that they're using for their parking spaces. So they've got 8 parking spaces. The customer pulls into the parking space. They call the attendant on the number, tell them what space they're in. The attendant brings the groceries out to their car and they drive away. And that's the whole service. The one directional sign just leads you to that parking area in the middle there where they've designated that those parking spaces will be. So basically, that's the program. It's called the Click and Collect program. So all they're asking is that these signs be mounted in the landscape area that's already in the parking lot. They're not changing any of the parking or anything else. They're not doing anything to change what's there now. They're just utilizing what's there, basically.
Okay. There's going to be 8 of them that are going to be in line. Okay. Shirley, any questions or comments?
No.
Debbie, any questions, comments?
No.
Brian?
No.
Sharon?
Nope.
And Kenyatta?
No.
Okay. I don't see anybody from the public left, but I'll ask anyone. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this application? Hearing none, seeing none, public portion is closed. No comments for me either. They look kind of nice, I think. All right. Do we have a motion to approve as presented?
I'll make a motion.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Roll call vote. Myself, yes. Shirley?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
And Kenyatta?
Yes.
All right. thank you. You're all set. Good luck with the signs.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Great, thanks, you too.
So just one quick thing before we go, just around the meetings and holding them. The governor extended, and Liz, keep me honest here, the executive order allowing remote meetings until the 3rd of November, I think it was. So at this point, my preference is to, keep it that way, and stay remote if we can. Part of me says this is working, and the other piece is that we're starting to see an uptick in the area a little bit more, and globally. So any concerns, objections with that, or are we generally okay with that?
I think it's fine. I think it's wise.
Yeah. And then, when is our next meeting, Cheryl, now that I think about it?
Our next meeting is November 5th.
So even then, we have to have him extended again, Liz, before we have to get to that meeting, correct?
Yeah, he's basically extending them 1 month at a time for the
Okay.
public meeting provision for this that allows us to do this remotely. But there's no indication that this part of the executive order is never going to be extended. It's just, we have to wait month by month.
So how long does he wait to extend this, in the sense that, do we have to schedule this now? If we schedule it now, Cheryl, does it have to be in person, or didn't think about
No,
that?
I think we should you can schedule it a virtual meeting, which is what we did this time. We scheduled it before it was officially extended. But he waits till like right before the current order expires before extending it again.
And this when does it expire?
You said the right date. It's November 3rd.
Okay, so we'll have 2 days still. So he'll hopefully extend it then.
Yes.
I need a 2-week lead time to schedule a meeting, because by town code, I have to send out the abutting neighbor notices by 10 days. I need 10 days to advertise in the newspaper. So I need about 2 weeks to get a meeting ready. So that's my lead time. So if he drops, say on the 3rd, I can't just hurry up and have a meeting like 2 days later, like a real meeting.
So what are our options then? So it feels like it's a rock and a hard place, right? If we schedule it virtually and it doesn't extend it, what do we do? And if we schedule it in person and he does extend it, can we flip it the other way? Like, what's the guidance, I guess?
We're in the town attorney's office. We're operating under the assumption that the orders are going to continuously be extended at least through the end of the year. But I can check with the other boards to see, and Cheryl, you might know better, what exactly they're doing. Nobody's waiting for the orders to get extended to schedule virtual meetings. That's
right.
That's not what anybody's doing, but the regular town board is. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're assuming that they're virtual
Yes.
meetings, and we're just
Yes.
moving along. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's keep doing that for now, and then if we cross that bridge, hopefully we won't. We'll figure it out then. Okay, that's fine with me. All right. That was the only thing I wanted to bring up, and just make sure we're all on the same page there. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to close the meeting. I have a motion to close the meeting.
I will make a motion to close the meeting.
And I will second.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Who's second the meeting?
Yada.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.